I am begging you at this point to understand the seriousness of the storm.
There are no excuses. You need to leave.
Breaking news.
Evacuate, evacuate, evacuate.
Government officials pleading.
It is the highest warning we can give to people.
Trying to get everyone out of Hurricane Matthew's path.
This is not a drill. This is the real thing.
The destructive storm slamming the east coast of Florida this morning.
Officials warning those who think they can stay put.
That could be a deadly decision you're making.
This deadly storm is the biggest threat in decades.
Do not surf. Do not go on the beach. This will kill you.
And parts of the southeast could be uninhabitable for weeks or months.
There is no excuse to risk your life.
Even the presidential race focusing on those living in Matthew's path.
It looks like it's going to be a very bad one, maybe the worst in a long period of time.
Let's just keep them in our thoughts.
Full coverage right now on Good Day Connecticut.
Good morning, everybody. She is Amanda Rouse. I'm Tim Lammers. Yes, we are tracking Matthew right now. This is a live look as the Category 3 major hurricane has essentially reached the United States, even if its eye has not. It killed hundreds of people in the Caribbean, and it's got everybody worried about people in 3 different states in the southeast.
Take a live look out there in Florida right now. The hurricane bringing damaging winds and torrential rains to that area this morning. Good morning, and thanks for joining us here on Good Day Connecticut. I'm Amanda Rouse.
I'm Tim Lammers. Fox 61 does have team coverage for you this morning. We are in Daytona Beach, Florida, to show you the conditions. And we're also keeping an eye on flight cancellations up at Bradley.
Right.
But of course, we do want to get you started with meteorologist Dan Amarante. He's got the latest on this breaking news.
Yeah, guys, it is certainly an active situation down there where they're dealing with some very strong winds. There's been gusts up to 100 miles per hour in Cape Canaveral. So Cape Canaveral is getting it right now. The Melbourne, Florida area, Cape Canaveral, and even Daytona, you'll be getting into it in no time. So a lot of people have friends and family down there, and most people hopefully have heeded these warnings because this is certainly a very, very active situation down there right now. Now, this is where the eye is. Look at that. That's the center of the storm. So it's essentially calm in the middle of the storm where the eye is. But then you go about 5 miles to the north or west, and all of a sudden you're dealing with 120, 130 mile per hour winds. So just incredible there. So this is Cape Canaveral. This is where NASA launches their rockets. It kind of is a little outlet here. And even Melbourne and Titusville and up towards the north in Daytona, they're starting to get into those very, very strong wind gusts. So Matthew is currently a Category 3 with winds of 120 miles per hour. This is the newest information as of 7 a.m. 938 millibars. So that's very low pressure. The lower the pressure, typically the stronger the storm. And this storm has been very, very strong as it moved through the Bahamas and moved right across Freeport, the Bahamas, last night and into early this morning. And now it's kind of hugging along the coast here. So it's going to continue to go right up along the coast there. And I don't think it will actually make full landfall. By that, I mean that eye, that center part of the storm will not actually go right over the shoreline. But still, you're in the eye wall, which is a very strong part of the storm. So this is where it's going to go, right up along the coast there. Winds of likely around 115 or so as we go on for the middle of the day and into the afternoon today. And then it goes up towards the Jacksonville area where they are bracing for a very strong storm as well. And then eventually kind of curling out and following the coast towards Charleston where it may have winds of 90 miles per hour or so. So some weakening will likely happen over the next couple of days, which is good news for a lot of people along the shoreline. But obviously, this is just not good news in terms of how strong this storm is to start. And then eventually it's going to take that curl off and kind of do a little loop-de-loop here and weaken significantly. So you're seeing winds of 60 miles per hour there, 45 there, and even weaker as it gets down towards the Bahamas again. So once it does come around for the second time, it will likely be a lot weaker for the Bahamas and eventually Florida as well. So a little bit of good news with that. But certainly that worst case scenario that we were fearing where it kind of really hugged the coast, it's about 15 miles east of that, which is a little bit better. So yeah, still a tough situation. Now for us in Connecticut, we're looking at some pretty good conditions out there. It's fairly comfortable. Temperatures in the 40s to around 50 this morning. Not bad at all. And it's basically in line with average for this time of year. Later on today, we're going to warm up to the 70s. We'll say mid 70s for most of the state. So that's comfortable stuff. That's on the warm side even, well above average. Here's what you have on the satellite radar. Not much. Clear skies and a little bit of fog popping up in a few spots. So keep that in mind. Some dense fog in a few areas, but really most of us are going to be seeing the sunshine. And it's going to be a mostly sunny day all across the Northeast, so good weather. We are watching a cold front as we go on for tomorrow that may bring us a shower or two, but until then, this is good stuff out there today. So temperatures in the 70s, we'll say near 80 in a few towns, and certainly in the sun could be feeling like 80 degrees. The sun set at 6:21. And by tonight, we'll have temperatures in the 40s to around 50. And then as we go on for tomorrow, you start off with some sun. The Hartford Marathon looking pretty good, and in the afternoon may bring a shower or two. We'll talk about that in the 7-day forecast in just a little bit. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Dan. We will check in again with you in just a few minutes about this.
As of right now, more than 300,000 people are without power. We're expecting that number to grow. Hurricane Matthew's eye wall, like you said, if it can get a little closer to shore, it's going to deliver probably the strongest, most destructive winds that anybody in Central Florida has seen in at least a decade, possibly two. This is a strong storm.
It really is, and we actually do want to get a report from Florida in just a moment. But first, we know that the roads are also important to you here in Connecticut. So let's check in with Rachel Lutzker for a look at the traffic.
Yeah, guys, we had an earlier problem that was along 95 South. That cleared by exit 73 as you're heading in from East Lyme to Old Lyme. So we're doing just fine there. Just some leftover delays in the area. But other than that, we really look great, and that's easing up really quick. Southbound side of I-95 is fine. East Haven to New Haven, no problems on 91. The northbound side looks good. Totally different story once you get into Fairfield County. That's where we start to jam things up out of Bridgeport to Fairfield. 20 minutes there, 25 minutes in the Parkway southbound from the Trumbull exit straight through the no exit zone. Take a look outside. We're busy on the northbound side of I-91 as you approach exit 29 moving into the capital area. Southbound side, though, here looks fine. That's the Mattress Firm traffic report. Sleep East is now Mattress Firm with more selection, service, and savings. Guys.
Okay, continuing our Hurricane Matthew coverage now from Florida up to the Carolinas. Officials are still warning people to get to safety as this storm is bearing down on the entire stretch of that coastline.
Yeah, and the president has declared a state of emergency in Florida and South Carolina. Diane Gallagher is in Jacksonville, Florida for us this morning, continuing our team coverage.
The wind starting to kick up just a little bit here in Jacksonville, quite a bit different, a little south of here, 115 mile per hour gust at Port and Cape Canaveral. There are 300,000 or so people without power right now in Florida. And remember, this storm's still about 5 miles, the eye wall off the coast of Florida at this point. We are hours away from it hitting Jacksonville, but right now it is too late. If people have not evacuated yet, they're not leaving. They need to hunker down. They're riding out this storm.
The massive storm moving up Florida's east coast, bringing with it heavy rain and more than 100 mile per hour winds.
It's here. It's absolutely here.
Officials saying the effects of Matthew will be unlike any hurricane in decades, and that some places may become, quote, uninhabitable for weeks or months.
We're already starting to see the impacts, and it's a monster. Again, our number one priority is protecting every life in this state.
Power lines are down across the state, hundreds of thousands without power, but despite repeated calls to evacuate and predictions of a devastating storm surge.
11 feet of storm surge. So in your house, if you're close, you could have the storm surge and waves over your roof.
Some people say they are staying put.
We're all scared. We all think that we're going to be okay, but nobody knows.
Well, I've been through all the storms here growing up, so this is just another one.
Yeah, except for Matthew is not just another storm. This side of Florida has not seen a storm like this one in living memory, 118 years. Now, Jacksonville is nicknamed the Bridge City. Again, you can probably see the wind kicking up once again here. They're going to have to shut down a lot of those bridges, and emergency services have said that if you call 911 right now with some sort of emergency, they're not going to be able to get to you at this point until after the storm. A severe situation in Florida right now that's only going to get worse over the next couple of hours. Reporting live in Jacksonville, I'm Diane Gallagher. Back to you.
Well, thank you, Diane. Yeah, Matthew is also disrupting air travel all along the East Coast.
Fox 61's Caitlin Gosley is live at Bradley International Airport with how the storm is affecting travel plans for people here in Connecticut. Hi, Caitlin.
Good morning to you. Yeah, it's these departure and arrival boards that really tell the story here at the airport this morning. Most of them are showing canceled if they are connected to or coming from or going to a Florida airport. The flights we're seeing that have cancellation notices next to them are to and from Miami, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. So those are the flights that are being the most impacted this morning. Since Thursday, Airports in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Orlando have either shut down completely or canceled all airline operations. As of this morning, roughly 3,800 flights nationwide have been canceled as a result of Matthew. Many airlines have put out notices to passengers that they're adjusting their waiver or flight change policies for this storm in particular. Now, each airline does have their own policy, so you'll need to call your airline directly if your flight is being impacted and you do need to make those changes. Some passengers told us that they made those adjustments earlier this week ahead of the storm hitting the U.S., and one Florida resident we actually just spoke to told us that he's had a close eye on this storm and his flight status leaving Bradley this morning.
I'm out here to do a little business for my company, and I check the websites all the time to make sure the storm wasn't going to make any changes or major changes. And I saw that we were going to be, I think, pretty safe, and talk with my wife every day to make sure she was okay, and everything worked out fine.
Now, it all worked out fine for that Florida resident, as you heard, but that is not the case for many of the flights. As I mentioned, roughly 38 flights nationwide have been canceled as a result of this storm, and airlines are now urging passengers to call ahead before coming to the airport to make sure your flight is not one of those impacted today or in the coming days this weekend. Now, on a side note here, we are hearing some reports from passengers and seeing some things over Twitter that say that American Airlines has a system down at this point. We are seeing long lines at that check-in ticket counter. Now, this may not, most likely has nothing to do with Matthew because it's only happening here at Bradley, but just a heads up, if you are heading to the airport this morning, leave a few extra minutes if you need to check in at the American Airlines counter. That's the latest here live from Bradley Airport. We'll send it back inside to you guys.
All right, thanks for the update, Caitlin. We'll still ahead for you here on Good Day Connecticut. She lost her son in the Sandy Hook tragedy. Now, one Newtown mother is reaching out to the family of the South Carolina boy who died after a shooter opened fire at his school. We'll have her touching words.
Also, as Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton prepare for this weekend's debate, both of them are showing that they stand with everybody in the Southeast who are dealing with Hurricane Matthew. For continuing coverage of Hurricane Matthew, you can download the Fox 61 News app because this is a story that will be moving and changing literally all day. You can also find links to relief efforts as well as the forecast. It's free on Android and iPhone devices.
I want to send our thoughts, our hearts are with all of the people and prayers to the millions in the path of what's now known as Hurricane Matthew. It looks like it's a big one, and it's going to be a bad one, it looks like.
I know we're all thinking about this hurricane coming up the East Coast. A lot of our friends and family, we probably know folks in Florida or Georgia or the Carolinas, and let's just keep them in our
is 7:14. We're continuing to track Hurricane Matthew, where you can see where the storm is headed. Certainly in terms of intensity, this is not the strongest storm we've ever seen, but that path means millions of people are being affected by it.
Yeah, right now in Florida, a power company is reporting that 300,000 customers are without power. That's of this morning. Now, when this storm hit Haiti, at least 280 people died there, and that's just what we know so far. As they make it out to remote areas, we could see that death toll rise. Now, of course, there is just 32 days left until the election, and the candidates are addressing Hurricane Matthew out on the campaign trail.
Yeah, Donald Trump held a town hall meeting yesterday up in New Hampshire. He prayed for the people who were in the storm's path.
I want to send our thoughts, our hearts are with all of the people and prayers to the millions in the path of what's now known as Hurricane Matthew. It looks like it's a big one, and it's going to be a bad one, it looks like.
Hillary Clinton took the day off from the campaign trail, but she tweeted about the storm, saying, quote, "I urge everyone to follow emergency instructions and evacuate if you're told to. Stay safe, Florida." Her running mate, though, did talk about the storm on the campaign trail.
I know we're all thinking about this hurricane coming up the East Coast. A lot of our friends and family, we probably know folks in Florida or Georgia or the Carolinas, and let's just keep them in our thoughts so that they're safe. And if folks are watching from those places, know that we're thinking about you.
He urged everybody to follow directions from public safety officials as well.
Well, the Clinton campaign is involved in a bit of a controversy this morning. Just about anything can turn political at a moment's notice, including Hurricane Matthew. Politico is reporting that Hillary Clinton's team bought airtime on the Weather Channel in a slew of major Florida media markets. After some backlash, the Clinton campaign just announced that the ads will not be running until after the hurricane passes. Well, the next presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is this Sunday. And of course, you can watch it live right here on Fox 61.